Well, welcome to Justice Served TV. It's a special anniversary edition. No, not Michael, Bryant, and I.
No.
My husband, 25 years. And we hope to be here 25 years so I can say that to Michael Bryant 25 years from now. Michael.
Congratulations, by the way. All right, the Epstein files, are they really going to be made public? We are in the inside in Congress. Also, Karen Reed, new civil trial. New civil case. What a surprise. We've got some changes in the Brian Walsh case, but more importantly, stand by. Mark Bederow is here.
Justice, where are you? Michael and Linda are here.
Love you, Linda.
The world is justice. Will we ever find justice?
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing
Will
"Oh
we
Happy
know
Day."
Justice when we see it. To be and down me, I lead the way. Hoping justice will win the day. Listener clues, finding justice where we can. Join us now, we're on the run. Justice is waiting, we'll see it done.
You know, I just realized that you were gone the week when I put that together, and I have not gotten your react to the new opening.
I love it. I love it because it has Tubi and Domino in it. I understand Domino's a star on your X account today.
Yeah.
We better watch out. He may be co-hosting this program.
Yeah,
next week.
Domino is right there, still very excited, very excited about Bederow coming on to talk with us. Anyway, so we get mentioned, the dogs get mentioned. It's a wonderful thing. So again, happy anniversary, 25 years. That's amazing.
I know, I can't believe it. They said it would never work out,
Yeah, you crazy kids. All right, so we have some new paperwork filed in the Aidan Kearney mess. I'm not sure it matters though, because the Commonwealth doesn't seem. Apparently, they've moved. I don't know. They're not getting the paperwork. They're not getting the filings there, because usually when a court imposes a deadline, especially one you've asked for extensions on many times, you kind of want to meet it. And if not, you better have some pretty damn good reason that you didn't. And yet none of those things have happened. So who better to tell us, as we say in the legal biz, what the hell is going on? Mark Bederow is here. How you doing, man?
I'm okay. First of all, happy anniversary.
Thanks, Mark.
Big one, 25. A prominent doctor and big-time lawyer. Wow.
Our couple. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. We still work for a living, love it. As you know, when you love what you do, it's the best thing in life.
Oh, that's great. But glad to be here and talk to you guys.
Okay, you have to go first, Michael, because I'm told I have lipstick on my teeth, so I have to like.
This is the way things go, Mark. This is just.
Okay.
So you have a new filing today that may or may not have been spurred by the fact that Cosgrove, special prosecutor Cosgrove, missed the deadline. I mean, you would have filed it anyway. It just comes on the heels of their not meeting the deadline. So let's back up before we get to that declaration in detail, which I have in my hot little hand here. It says redacted. Is that because the emails are not attached? Is that what that is?
There's nothing in the actual supplemental affidavit that's redacted, but some of the exhibits reference some prior discovery demands, which for reasons not entirely clear to me, were ordered, put under a protective order by a court. And, we just do what they tell us to do, whether we agree or not. So there are certain redactions, but there's nothing new that's out there that's redacted. And these papers were actually submitted yesterday. But they weren't ready for filing in the court system until today. They have nothing to do with them missing the deadline. We learned of things last week, and as all responsible attorneys do, we recognize there's the December 5th oral argument. There's new, important, relevant information that we think is significant that the court should be aware of in advance of that. So we rush like hell to get it in front of the court. Why the prosecution needs 2 months to get their house in order and not do it, that's something I guess we'll talk about later. But that's what.
Well, there was some significant. Michael dropped out. There was some significant issues in what was revealed that had been hidden from what I was reading on the internet. A very significant issue. Tell us about it. Set the stage.
Well, I mean, the purpose of the filing, and it's public, so it's, you know, it's all out there, is that in the last week, we have been enlightened about the existence of 5 pieces of indisputably discoverable, and at least in one example, exculpatory evidence, which ought to have been disclosed by the prosecution over the course of the last couple of years and wasn't. And we have a motion to dismiss pending in front of the court, amongst other things, for egregious governmental misconduct, including just a complete indifference and ignoring of their Brady and discovery obligations. So certainly, the more we learn about evidence that should have been disclosed and wasn't, we're going to inform the court. And frankly, you know, it's scary. Some of this evidence we discovered on Twitter through prosecution witnesses who clearly were in the custody and control of the prosecution for years, didn't disclose the evidence. They didn't make any effort to investigate. The remainder of the evidence that's cited in the affidavit comes from a Freedom of Information Act request made by a third party who is embroiled in litigation with the DA's office because of their non-disclosure, and other government entities, their non-disclosure of evidence. And the question becomes, why the hell are we getting state police and DA communications involving witnesses from the Norfolk DA's office, releasing them to the public, but a specially assigned prosecutor to our case telling us we have everything is not turning over this evidence? And this has been going on for months, years, and whatnot. And, you know, enough is enough. And, you know, I don't think I've ever in 20 something years, 27, I think now, in dealing with criminal practice, submitted one supplemental affidavit in support of a motion, let alone 4 or 5. And I can't even tell you that this will be the last one, because if you're asking me, do I think we'll learn more before December 5th? I'd say probably we will, right? Why wouldn't we believe that? So, you know, we just want the new judge, as it were, as you know, we have a new judge assigned for this, to be fully aware of everything and understand the larger point, the macro point. You know, the micro point was there's all these emails we didn't get, an exculpatory recording, but the macro point is you can't trust these people when they say we've disclosed all the evidence, because the clear record establishes the exact contrary to that representation. And at what point is enough enough? And, you know, we believe, and we'll be heard on December 5th, that we've long crossed that threshold, that this case needs to be dumped.
You know, Mark, this is something we talked about when we were on the courthouse steps last time. At that point, we were waiting for the order just been given. 30 days, there needs to be a new prosecutor appointed. That was in the case, now dismissed.
Right.
But it was the same question. What's the consequence of just blowing off these court orders and deadlines? And there doesn't seem to be any consequence.
There doesn't seem to be any consequence. It appears to be just the way things are done there. But what is interesting is this, and, you know, again, we don't have all the facts, but my dealings and our dealings as a defense team with the prosecutor have been entirely professional, even though we clearly disagree about the case. But over the year or more that I've been involved, communication has been good. If there are extensions of time, which they seem to frequently seek, we get notified. You know, in this particular motion cycle that occurred, we had a deadline of October 27th. It was supposed to be October 24th, actually. And co-counsel actually said in court, why don't you make it the 27th? We'll give you the weekend. That was the nice, generous, you know, olive branch to do that. And on October 24th at 5 p.m., you know, there was a motion filed seeking an extension. Clearly, given the timing of that filing, it doesn't put us in any position to respond and oppose it. We didn't, never complained. We knew it was going to be granted. Court, or the former court anyway, gave them until November 17th to finish their filings. That was yesterday. That came and went. There was no filing There's still to this date, literally on November 18th after 6 o'clock, has been no filing. More interesting is there's been no communication, which is not normal in the course of the relationship of this case. As I said, it's been anything but collegial, appropriate, professional. And, Linda will obviously know this, having been in high level practice for all these years. What real lawyers always do is talk to lawyers, even on contentious cases. And if they need more time, they would tell you, even if they don't have a good excuse. I'm just letting you know. And the reality is we've heard nothing, not a peep. And that's troubling for a number of reasons. One, it calls into question the professionalism, frankly, about it. But also, we want to appear on December 5th and argue and have this case dismissed. And the longer this fiasco drags on and we're not presented with their reply, that harms our ability, my ability personally, to prepare to do what I have to do. I have other cases to work on. I have other things to do, and set aside time to work on certain things like any professional attorney. And, we've now lost 2 days of real time that frankly I had put aside to look at this right away and outline some thoughts about what to say in court, or even consider the possibility of seeking leave of court to file a reply brief, to get that in front of the judge. And so we are losing time. We are not being provided any notice. And this just appears to be the latest thing that happens in this county, where nothing is normal, nothing is done in the way it should be. But in this particular case, to have no communication from the prosecutor is alarming. That's unique so far.
Don't you find it interesting, and maybe me, as I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but you have a new judge that was appointed. I don't know whether you had noticed that new judge was coming, and all of a sudden you don't hear from the prosecution. Have you thought of whether there is a connection between the two, especially since Cosgrove did have to leave one of the cases because of a conflict of interest?
So I guess in the first instance, we had no idea what was going on, behind the kimono, if you will, in terms of the judicial assignments. We did not ask for it. The prosecution did not ask for it. We were unaware it was happening. We just got emailed an order late last week, I think Friday, saying this happened. And it's interesting. And I can think of some reasons why perhaps that might have happened, but I'll keep that to myself. I don't want to speculate too much about that. In terms of why would it happen? How does it relate to what's happening now with the prosecution? I don't think so. I think it is to our advantage, frankly, to have one judge familiarized, in this case himself, with all the evidence, because I think it strongly favors us. We had no say in it. We just, as I like to say, we go where they send us. They tell us when to show up, what's on tap that day, and we'll do it, whether we agree with it or not. So, I don't know why this happened. We're fine with it. We're not concerned that the judge is from Canton, which is true, apparently. I can't look and see goblins in every window and just assume that has anything to do with it. I mean, look, I think the facts and law are on our side. I think this case is destined to circle the drain. It's just a matter of when. The frustrating part is that we've had December 5th circled for a long time, and we bust our hump to meet deadlines. We work hard all the time. We have 27 different matters going on at the same time, but we do whatever we need to do to get all the information in front of the court to keep the schedule which we want. And that schedule is now being jeopardized by a complete lack of communication at all on what they're doing. And frankly, it's insane to me.
Yeah. This new judge, it seems to me, we're surprised when something that makes sense happens. And it does make sense that they bring a judge in to consolidate these matters. Makes perfect sense. But it's Massachusetts, so we're like, oh, what the hell's going on? Something's wrong here. Let me ask you this, because I've been looking through your document, and I get to the very end, page 17, and it almost kind of sort of looks like there is an opening to get an evidentiary hearing on some of the underlying matters in this declaration, which would change the timetable. Well, tell me about the thinking there.
Well, we don't expect the judge to rule from the bench on December 5th that this case is going to be dismissed. I would assume, given the issues, that even if it was to happen quickly, it'd be a written decision and would take some time. But in the motions that we filed, which include a motion to dismiss for a just horrible grand jury proceeding, other government misconduct, there is a motion to disqualify the prosecutor, to get access to the Proctor records. We have always said that at a bare minimum, there are material facts that we have alleged that are in question, which at a bare minimum warrant an evidentiary hearing. And we don't want a repeat of what, Kenney did in the Karen Reed case, which was just deny that. And I got to tell you, we would very much welcome an evidentiary hearing at which Ken Mello, Tully, Buchanan, Proctor, perhaps other prosecutors, other civilians who are well known to people who follow the stuff, are compelled to testify, and for us to question them all about these curious circumstances. So that simply is to make it clear to the court that at a bare minimum, if we're raising material questions of fact that have to be resolved, which the prosecution disagrees with before you rule on this case, then we're entitled to an evidentiary hearing. And that should have happened in Karen's case. And it absolutely, if you're not going to rule for us on the papers, which frankly, I think they should, court should, but if you're not, at a bare minimum, then we need to roll up our sleeves, call these people in, and tee it up, and let's go. Let's
go with that cross-examination. I'm sure. I mean, as I always tell people, we're always biting. We want to get our teeth into that cross-examination.
Yeah, we live for that. So look, you can do it the hard way, the easy way. It's in the client's interest to rule on the papers, but as lawyers, and certainly Linda knows this, we like the blood sport if that's what it comes to, and we're happy to do it. But the bottom line is, we think there's an injustice going on here. And if it's the hard way or the easy way, again, tell us when and where to show up, what we're doing, and we'll be there, and we'll do it the hard way or the easy way. That's all.
You also have the statute of Massachusetts, which is just ridiculous. This whole witness intimidation, just a complete First Amendment violation, in my opinion. Not that Massachusetts is listening to me, but you have that going for you if all else fails, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've made the argument. It's certainly preserved if necessary. In the unlikely event, as they say, you come in second, we have that preserved. That argument's been made, but the mere fact that statute exists is troubling. And if you look at the motion or the affidavit that was filed in support of the existing motions, you can see how problematic this is. I mean, the evidence, as alleged in the affidavit and is supported by the exhibits and facts, is that you have a former Massachusetts state trooper, okay, this woman who is disgraced, and that's a common refrain, like a former disgraced trooper who hates Aidan Kearney. You ever heard that before? This is talking to a witness who wants to be a witness, a woman that she knows despises the client, and is literally saying, we need to make you a witness. And if we make you a witness, he's screwed. I mean, the fact that can happen, and then 2 weeks later, the guy's serving a jail sentence based upon the uncorroborated word of the witness whose ear they whispered in to do this, it tells you all you need to know. The legal system in Massachusetts is in full-blown crisis. It is just everything about the criminal justice system in Massachusetts is a mess. And today is a perfect example, because you saw on a national level, look at the news just coming out of Massachusetts today for the whole world to see. I mean, you have, we know Karen Reed sued all of the people in that case who yesterday claimed, threatened, didn't actually follow through, not yet, but are threatening to sue. Exactly. You see what's going on in our case. We can't get a response. We have to file and do this. You see what's going on in this Brian Walsh thing. Everybody knows about Sandra Birchmore. And it's just remarkable to me, especially growing up in Massachusetts, that it has literally become a national laughingstock of due process and just the way the criminal justice system works. And I never would have thought that, of all places, such an intellectual cradle of liberty kind of place would be the poster child for the United States of just a disgraceful system that is in full-blown crisis. Yet here we are.
There you are.
And if
And
you look at it,
won't. I'm sorry, Michael. I was going to say, just
go ahead. I'll allow it.
I'll allow it. I like
yeah.
I see you. I know it.
Memories. No, I was just going to say that, and you don't need to comment on this. I am shocked that the Attorney General or the governor of the state hasn't intervened. But I don't want you to comment on it because that may affect your case. But I am absolutely shocked that no one has done that, given well, today, I was dealing with 3 of my own cases today. And I think I texted Michael and Bryant at some point and I said, what's going on in Massachusetts? It's like I can't look at my phone and everything is popping up. So, but you don't have to comment. I don't want to get you in trouble.
I won't get in trouble and I said this elsewhere the other day. All you need to know is that, there are, a number of lawyers and even what they call content creators, I guess, who cover criminal cases all around. And, you're not in Massachusetts, obviously like me, you're in New York, New Jersey. Some of these other prominent lawyers are in New York, they're in California, they're in Michigan, they're in wherever they are. They're not in Massachusetts. And yet 95% of what they're talking about is in Massachusetts. And it just, if that doesn't tell you, there's a problem here, that's where all their content comes from. It shouldn't be the case, but it is.
No, it's the center of the incompetence universe, and it really circulates around a handful of people. If you really think about it, this is not a massive number of people involved. It's less than 10 that are all connected in one way or another to these different problems. Let me ask you this. First of all, I'm digging into a footnote on your paperwork here. You can learn the most from footnotes.
That's where the real readers understand. That's where the tactics come out.
People might have been wondering. I know I was early on. Why did these ladies, I use that in quotes, have it out for Aidan Kearney? What was the deal? Why did that happen? And you mentioned this, Ms. Genduso, former state trooper, and you mentioned her just a moment ago, but I threw the name in there, who resigned in 2018, says the footnote, after Mr. Kearney reported that an internal affairs investigation revealed that she concealed from her employer her prior involvement with a drug-dealing criminal enterprise. So she's pissed off, and that seems to me to be the match that started the whole thing.
Well, I don't profess to be as charismatic or tongue-in-cheek funny as the client or others, but I think the way that he or others similarly situated would describe it is he did a journalism. And what he did was apparently bring that to the public's attention. And by the way, that's good journalism. A corrupt state trooper, or at least a compromised state trooper who was involved in a drug distribution ring and concealed that when she got hired, is as journalistically relevant as anything on 2 levels. Number one, why the hell is this person a state trooper? Number two, hello, Massachusetts State Police, do you do any background checks? How do you not know this? And he became aware of that and reported that. And he brought it to the public attention. And ultimately, she was forced to resign. I'm sure she would have been terminated. So that's newsworthy. Now, the byproduct of that is she hates him. I mean, which I understand. But, hating him also is another problem. And again, I keep looking at Linda because we're lawyers and this is what we do in court. It gives you a motive. It gives you bias. It gives you a reason to falsely accuse or have a motive to harm someone in a criminal case. And, we have text messages that are published, in this document in which she says, I have all this animosity towards him. I don't like him. And then she says, I legit had a dream where I dressed up as a ninja and virtually killed him by stalking him. And you know, that's all well and good, but that's the person who's getting in the ear of a vulnerable woman who's in a terrible relationship with him, who's begging for help and contacting people. And what do? They schnooker her into saying, you need to talk to this incompetent prosecutor, make yourself a witness. And I think the word is exploit him into doing this. And they did it, which also gives the witness, the witness, a clear motive to fabricate and make something up to lead to his arrest. And what do you end up with? You end up with an uncorroborated claim of, I was pushed and scared the day I got a summons from the state police to testify in a grand jury and said, you need to come over. He comes over and he ends up going to jail for 60 days. Now, the problem with these facts, if you want to prosecute on those facts, God bless you. I mean, I was a prosecutor. Those are facts I would not pursue, but whatever.
I was a prosecutor, same thing. Wouldn't pursue
Absolutely,
those facts.
absolutely. But if you are going to prosecute on those facts, for the love of God, man, disclose them early to the defense, recognize your obligations under Brady, under Giglio, under in Massachusetts Rule 14. And if you're going to do it fairly, like have respect for due process and say, we recognize that, you know, Genduso and Gaetani have a motive to falsely accuse him. And the worst part is this evidence, as is revealed in the affidavit, was as specifically requested as evidence could possibly ever be specifically requested. We could not have laid it out any clearer that we know this evidence exists based upon other evidence. We know it has to be exculpatory. We know it's in your possession, but we don't have it. And their response is they just ignore it and they do nothing. And then what happens is the witness, after she sues all of them, puts it online, and then we pull it all online. And so obviously this is a fact that we feel compelled that the court, considering a motion to dismiss for egregious government misconduct, has to be aware of. And that's why you see an affidavit like this, even though nobody wants to submit 5, 6, 7, what it feels like supplemental affidavits, but you have no choice. I mean, you have to zealously represent a client and get the facts out there. And as I said earlier, there's probably going to be more because I just assume it at this point.
And Mark, one of the things I always say is that you and I we've been prosecutors. We know our duty as prosecutors.
Right.
And I try to carry that all over to be a defense attorney.
Of course.
Know our duty as a defense attorney. If we did the things that the prosecution is now doing as defense attorneys, we would be in the hooskow, and we'd be losing our license.
You'd be at least bringing your checkbook at the very least.
We'd be in the whooscout. And the amount of scrutiny that people do look at when you have a defense case versus the amount of scrutiny, they'll just accept the prosecutor's case and say, they're the good guys. They're not necessarily the good guys. They're only the good guys if they're moral. They're not the good guys if they're not moral.
And that's scary because, you know, and I've said this in part of other commentary over the course of a couple of years, talking about all this Massachusetts nonsense, and coming from our background as prosecutors, they are supposed to be what I call the white hat. You know, they are supposed to be the good guys, and the system can't function and the public can't be safe if the prosecution is not acting as the white hat, the good guy. And, you know, it's very easy for the public to assume, oh, you sleazy defense attorneys, you know, you're not interested in justice. You're zealously representing a client. And it's true. I mean, your goal is to push them to the evidence to convict a client, which it can be very different than, you know, a prosecutor who has to do justice in a different sense, which is fairly make sure, you know, the guilty are convicted and the innocent are not. But it's absolutely true. I mean, when you have prosecutors who just blow off deadlines, don't communicate, don't disclose evidence, and then when you call them out on it, and you've seen this in Norfolk County again and again and again in the last several months, their attitude is, so what? And it's not just, you know, in the motion that we don't get a response, the recordings they don't disclose, the other evidence they don't disclose, the way that they rigged the grand jury that they did in Aidan's case. I mean, you even saw it a couple of months ago in a hearing on a different case where over search warrants that weren't disclosed in an important murder case, and the prosecutor testifies and his answer is, I don't know, it was Proctor, and just, he gave me like 2 out of 6 pages, and I don't know, and I don't know why he didn't do or did do what he did. And he's looking at his watch saying, who's putting the lunch order in, right? I mean, that whole office needs to be fumigated, and I assume it will be. But there is a culture of rot in the Norfolk DA's office. I mean, and that's the problem. It's cultural, because it's clear they have no best practices. They have no standards, because if they did, something would happen. And something that would happen is people would be terminated, demoted, sanctioned, and instead they just get handed other important cases. I mean, it's the same cast of characters, like you noted. So there is just a culture of rot in that office, and hopefully, it'll come to an end in the next year or so.
Yeah, it comes down from the top. It's Michael Morrissey, and he's responsible for doing something or nothing. When I deal with opposing counsel, I don't care whether I'm on one side or the other. I negotiate. If I can't negotiate, I litigate. It seems like these guys, if they can't negotiate or litigate, they ignore. I've just never seen anything like this, where it makes me worry about Cosgrove. Is the guy all right?
I don't know. I hope so. I don't want to obviously get into that, but there is a culture also, in addition to being, kind of just nonchalant about disclosure and Brady obligations, to just kicking the can down the road. I mean, it's like speedy trial is a foreign concept in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And, again, Michael, I don't know if you've ever practiced in New York, but Linda, I know you have. Speedy trial, to be clear, we're not in a homicide case. And in New York, homicide is exempt from the speedy trial statute. Mm-hmm. But, if Aidan's case was in New York, this case would be on the precipice of dismissal, if not already dismissed, on speedy trial grounds.
For failure to prosecute.
Because they've done nothing. They just, they blow deadlines. They don't do this. They don't disclose evidence. They don't announce ready for trial. They don't even pretend to try to be ready for trial. And there comes a point that in other states beyond Massachusetts, a judge says, tick, tick, we're done. But in Massachusetts, it's just, kick it down the road. And I look, I'm just a guest here for now. I think I'm going to get it. I think at this point, I'm just going to get it. I'm going to write the check and just get admitted. Why not? But,
I was a guest in the Hernandez case, as you know, when we got the Aaron, God rest his soul, free of the double homicide after he'd already been convicted of the murder. But in Suffolk County,
you work with Ron Sullivan on that? Obviously,
I was with Ron Sullivan. Yeah, Ron Sullivan, Jose, and I did all the forensic work. Jose was the lead, and Ron was Ron. Ron was the one who actually stood up for the judge. But he was like, the judge was like, cool. He'd like bring us a sidebar, and he'd say, and I've said this on the air, what did I do? What did I do? Because we were upset with him, okay, as opposed to him being. It was a whole different world, and we had a great experience. What's the difference between Suffolk County and we get to Norfolk County? And then I don't get it.
I think it's the DA's office. It is a culture of rot, and it's just the way it's always been. And the guy who is DA has been DA for like however many years at this point. He's been on the public payroll for what, 30, 40 years. And, anyone who's been in government that long, who has the same people working for him, they stuff money in his pockets that work for him, which is also problematic. They have their own state police detectives who are quite literally embedded in the office, which is a recipe for corruption and an absolute mistake. And I hope that when they get a new DA or a new attorney general, they will address that and do it the way that normal prosecutors and police agencies work. But I think it's the culture of rot that exists in Norfolk County. It's just, it's the way it's always been, which is never a good answer.
So let me have 2 questions for you. You mentioned the Karen Reed filing, and some of the same characters are defendants: Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, and then some of the civil defendants in that. So my first question is, do you think that that filing may have anything to do with there's something going on? They got to talk about this here. And the second thing, and it's more related to something I'm interested in, Aidan is a target. Leaving Aidan out there in Massachusetts makes him a target for other people who want to get in the club, or the Get Aidan Club. Okay. All right. I worry about that because I think Massachusetts is right. And is Massachusetts setting the way to say, oh, okay. And that concerns me. So I throw those out to you.
I mean, the lawsuit. I read the filing today by Karen's excellent lawyers. They really laid it out. And from a selfish standpoint, my first reaction was, okay, so the witnesses against Aidan in the event that case goes forward are now sued as defendants in a federal civil rights conspiracy. By the time they testify at trial, they will have been deposed. It will not go well. They're threatening to sue him as well. If they do, a legal team would be assembled. We'll depose them, which will be interesting. Can't wait for that, to be a part of that. And then also they would be testifying in a criminal case as civil plaintiffs suing the client with an obvious motive, financial motive, even to see him convicted. And the first thought I had was, at what point does any sane, reasonable person who has access to the district attorney of Norfolk County say, my God, man, punt, let them duke it out in civil court. If they want to sue him because they don't like that he hurt their feelings by calling them this or that, let them do it. They've said they're going to do it. If there's an issue between him and these witnesses and Karen Reed over and the state police over who's corrupt or who's right or who's wrong, there's litigation going on. Why are they going to try a witness intimidation case against a guy who hurt witnesses who were discredited in 2 criminal trials in which the defendant was acquitted, in my view, twice, by the way, at least once, probably twice? Why would you spend resources, effort, and energy at this point in trying to convict him of, in essence, hurting their feelings when they are threatening to sue him and there's all this litigation going on back and forth? This is insanity in terms of using court resources and whatnot. So, we'll have to see what they do. But, in all fairness, my first reaction today in reading the filing was chuckling, saying, this kind of helps us a lot. And if they sue him, not that I'm encouraging, they'll do it or they won't do it. And never mind what the client thinks. You could probably imagine what he thinks. But if we have a right to depose all these people alongside Karen's attorneys, and you know how depositions work, there's no Judge Kenney to put up the stop sign.
It's wide open, baby. Yeah.
Is wide open. Other than privilege and other things, we will roll up our sleeves and go to work, as they say. I just don't understand where the voice of common sense and sanity in the DA's office is to say, no mas, we're done, just over. Let them fight it out. And if he wronged them by accusing them of things and hurt their feelings and they want to sue him, be my guest. Do it.
That's what should happen. I mean, a civil venue is the place for this.
Absolutely.
I have a very important question, but before I get to it, I couldn't help but notice you're having a little beverage there. Is that apple juice, or is that?
It's a long day.
Okay, so I only say that because I have my Dewars here, which is named after Justice Dewar of the SJC, and so cheers.
Cheers. No, this is a Woodford Reserve. It's
that's much better than this stuff. If I have a few more drinks of this.
Wait a second. I'm in Massachusetts too. I've got Duncan. It was started in Massachusetts. All right.
It was in Quincy.
In Quincy, that's right. Not Quincy. Quincy. If I have a few more drinks of this, Linda, I'll be able to understand your text messages. But
It's a
So
long
far-
day.
If anyone knows me, I have nails. I don't text well.
One drink, at the end of a long day, it's very
I'm with you,
refreshing.
brother.
It's
So-
it's a nice little vice, as long as you maintain composure and control.
Moderation and everything.
It
Well,
tops
here's
off.
what I would say to truth, justice, and to Aidan, who's trying to bring truth and justice out to people.
Okay.
A lot of you may disagree with that, but I'm
I
going
don't
to
need, and again, once again, I don't need to tell you this because you're part of the party now. But
I should disclose the fact that I am now, Aidan disclosed it, and I can't talk about the case, but myself and Darren Gelbert, amazing lawyer, myself from the firm of Crank Uncle Cal, Darren Gelbert, amazing lawyer from Walentz, Goldman, and Spitzer, and anyone who knows New Jersey and all those, they are the premier firm way back from Walentz, David Walentz, who was Attorney General, was the prosecutor in the Lindbergh case, and then became the Attorney General of the state of New Jersey. The firm continues down, are representing Aidan in a matter which we can't discuss.
yeah, we actually have court tomorrow in New Jersey in an allegedly criminal case. It's a civilian complaint. You know how that works.
Mhm.
But so we have that tomorrow as well. But
Yeah, Jersey's very special that way. I love that there is access, but it can be so abused, and we're seeing it happen. Okay, so let me ask you this. This is the important question. As much as, anybody who reads your declarations and the moving papers sees the idiocy of what is happening there in Norfolk. There's no doubt about it. But what you're effectively asking the court to do is, as a matter of law, say there is no case here. There is nothing to talk about. If you look at all of the facts in the favor of the Commonwealth, they got nothing. Would you agree the court is hesitant to do that when they can just easily say, hey, the trial is both your evidentiary hearing and your resolution here? Let the jury figure this out.
yeah, I think in 9 out of 10 cases, that is how courts rule. But, we've got a wild card here. The grand jury in this case was an absolute disgrace. And, I don't say that just as some sleazy lawyer. I say that as someone who presented probably 1,000 cases to a Manhattan grand jury, maybe not that many, over the course of my time, and understands what it means to impair the integrity of a grand jury proceeding, and understands what the role of a prosecutor is in the grand jury proceeding, which is you are the legal advisor. There's no judge. There's no anything. You are the whole shebang. And you have a fundamental duty of fairness to the accused. You're not supposed to be in there trying to push an indictment as much as present the facts in a fair way and also protect the rights of the accused. And what happened in the indictment here, for whatever reason, Michael Morrissey hired a prosecutor who had never been a prosecutor before. And I say respectfully, if you were able to see the grand jury transcripts, which you're not, because of, their grand jury transcripts, you'd recognize it's obvious this man had never been a prosecutor before, because as has been publicly filed, what he did in the grand jury was disgraceful. Uncharged evidence, telling the grand jury what the penalties for uncharged crimes. It's bad enough to do it for a charged crime, but imagine presenting evidence that for which you don't seek an indictment and say that could get you 5 years in prison. Mislabeling evidence, misnaming it, giving personal opinions of guilt and intent. This can't stand. And the reality is, normally I would say, yeah, you can just say, let's just throw it to a jury and let them decide. But as you'll see on December 5th, I'm not previewing anything that's out of school here. One of our principal points is you can't do this. I mean, you cannot give a judicial stamp of approval and avert your eyes to the fact that this grand jury proceeding was an absolute sham, okay, from the jump. And this is not something where you say, who cares, let a jury decide. You need a judge to put an end to this, because the prosecutor, who should have, as the legal advisor, deliberately failed to. And you can't allow that. You just can't. And if you're going to allow that, then what they ought to do is just, as certain states have, not many, but a few, who have just abolished the whole grand jury proceeding because it's such a rubber stamp. Just get rid of it. If you're going to allow,
I'm for that. I think it's
You are-
antiquated. It's flawed.
but if you're going to allow the grand jury proceeding to be a requirement as a check and balance on an out of control prosecutor, in this particular case, the prosecutor was so out of control, ran roughshod over the grand jury, that if you're going to allow this to proceed, then I give up. You should let's just get rid of the system. And you can't allow it. You cannot allow it. And that's the argument, amongst others, that, in a nutshell, we'll be making in a few weeks.
What's the status on the fact that you're under a restriction to not disclose certain material that everyone else has?
Again, it's one of these Massachusetts head-scratching things. I guess the way I look at your question in the first instance, before I even say, like, what am I restricted, is to say, why am I not getting evidence that I am legally entitled to under the U.S. Constitution and the Massachusetts Rules of Criminal Procedure that I don't get, yet somebody makes a Freedom of Information Act request and the DA's office says, here you go. I mean, if ever you needed to know that there is a bias against a criminal defendant, that's what it is. So that's my first thought is, how is that fair? But, we do have protective orders limiting what we're allowed to share and whatnot, but it relates to evidence that we get from the prosecution. So if this same evidence is put online, as it has been, is disclosed in a Freedom of Information Act request, we have no restrictions. And that's why you'll see certain evidence, even in our filings, which if it came from the prosecution, we would have to redact. We don't, because we're not getting it from them. I mean, the court, in issuing the protective order, is under the mistaken belief that we're going to get the evidence from the prosecution, which is a normal belief, but not realistic given who we're dealing with. So they just assume you can't publish this material because we're foolish us. We think you're going to get it from the prosecution. We're not getting it from the prosecution. We're getting it from third parties, disgruntled former witnesses, people making Freedom of Information Act requests. So there are no restrictions because we're not getting it from the DA, which, if nothing else, just illustrates how screwed up the DA's office is and how they have no best practices. They have no system. They have no mechanism in place to make sure that they're complying with their constitutional and statutory obligations. And that's why we believe, amongst other reasons, it has to be dismissed.
Yeah. And we're seeing, that blatant disregard is, circling back to my original point, is because there are no consequences. So we're going to have a test for the new judge. Let me see if I make sure I get this right. Belezos, is that how you pronounce that? Belezos?
I think so. Yeah, Belezos.
Yes. He's going to be tested immediately.
Yeah. By all accounts. I mean, again, some of the Twitter people, oh my God, he's from Canton. Yeah. We're lawyers. We go where they send us. That's for others to talk about. We don't care. Okay,
so you've got this situation where we're now 24 plus hours beyond the last deadline for which the Commonwealth has not responded with anything. At a certain point, they've waived their right to respond. The court could have to address that before December 5th and basically be asked, if the Commonwealth wants to have the balls to do this, we need some more time for whatever reason. That's a possibility, which could push the December 5th hearing. Or the court could say, no, you blew it. You blew the deadline. We're moving forward.
They could. And the reality is this. I mean, at some point, we'll be heard on this. I mean, we're watching. We're fully aware of how long it's been without communication. But, again, we have schedules, right? And to be candid, this argument, this is my argument. Okay. I mean, I wrote this. I'm not in Massachusetts. I have scheduled a time to be there. I have a busy professional life, a busy personal life. I have other clients, other things, budget time, and it is.
And puppies. You have puppies.
I do. I have kids, puppies, craziness. It would be outrageous for me to have to just blow up my schedule because these people don't respond. And so now, again, though, if they try to respond on December 2nd, well, that's not reasonable. And I don't think it's reasonable what they're doing now. by simply not telling us what's going on. So, at some point soon, if we have to, we'll be heard on this. But it's disrespectful in that we all have things to do, balancing clients, balancing our lives, balancing schedules. And if the idea that we'll just kick this down the road and, we'll see you on, January, whatever. Well, I may not be available that day for whatever reason. I don't know. I have a calendar. We all have things to do. If I have to be, I will be. That's how it works. But I just find the most troubling part of this whole process is that there is radio silence. It's not even, they didn't respond. There's no notice. There's no discussion. There is radio silence. And I have to tell you, I didn't expect that.
So, Mark, is there anything that we didn't ask you regarding the papers you filed today or the motion that you'd like to make a point of for the audience? I know I've held all the super chats and questions. You all can see them as they were going past, and I thank you very much. We think it's more important to have Mark speak. So anything that we did not ask you?
No, I'm not looking to argue a case or put out.
Well, we are. We're looking to have you argue it.
Answer the questions if I can, but I'm not looking to just literally.
Not going to speechify. Okay.
No. That's December 5th, assuming it is December 5th.
Okay, so I'm telling you, this judge is going to have a weightier issue to deal with before December 5th. This judge is going to have to deal with this, cone of silence that seems to be surrounding the Commonwealth. This is not normal. Folks need to know this is not normal in any setting, in any jurisdiction, in any part of the country to just blow off a deadline and not at least reach out if for no other reason than courtesy and say, I got an issue, I need more time. It's unheard of.
I learned a long time ago, as a pup lawyer, that you have to. Your number one asset is your credibility. You can win, you can lose, you can be right, you can be wrong, but your only real stock in trade is your credibility, and that's your career, and that's how you'll go places and whatnot. And if there's a problem here with why they can't respond, which I'm not saying I would endorse or agree with. But if there's a problem here, you ought to have a courtesy to tell us, period.
It's simple. It's just it just blows my mind. That's why, out of some sincerity, I wonder, is there something wrong with this dude? And if so, why wouldn't somebody else in the department step up? It's not like this is a big secret, like nobody knows about this case or these deadlines or the pending motion. Everybody knows about it. And yet nobody says a word to you guys.
Yeah.
Not a word.
It's outrageous.
I wonder what they have up their sleeve, or whether they're waiting for these filings here with Karen Reed or whatever, but we'll see. Should we let Mark go? He's taking a whole hour of his time. I feel bad.
Know.
I
He's
feel
so
terrible.
I like to the audience
listening.
wanting more Mark. That's what I like.
Yeah.
Whatever you guys want to do, I'm here. It's up to you.
You want to stay with us when we talk about Epstein a little bit?
Yeah, let's do that before we let you go. Just to get your rough, we know you have some involvement. We don't want to get into any of that.
No, you're not involved with it. You're not involved with Epstein. Wait a second.
So,
Let's
no. So let me give a 30-second discllai and
okay.
No, Jeffrey Epstein, as you've heard, is just a dead pedophile. No, I do represent a victim of his and others. That is true. Many other people, and there's a lot going on with that. So, I do have knowledge of things that Jeffrey Epstein did, that Ghislaine Maxwell did, and many, many, many other unnamed people, very prominent, far more prominent than Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell did. So all I would say is that any analysis I give to this, I'm not an outside observer. That's true. And people also online have said, oh my God, you're like a political hack because of this or that. I'm not. I know what I know. I don't profess to know everything about this. So I'm not, pro-Trump, anti-Trump on this. I'm not, or others involved. I just know a lot of very disturbing things and have opinions. That's all.
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask it this way.
Go ahead, Michael, why don't you do your disclosure and I'll do mine, since we're doing our disclosures.
I mean, mine is, I know a number of the victims. My wife was the director of Filthy Rich and the Ghislaine Maxwell follow-up on Netflix. So I've been immersed. I've been living this story. I remember the day that I get up, I walk into the kitchen. We were in California back then, and my wife says Epstein's dead. And in the world of TV production, that I thought, oh, the show's dead. For whatever reason, it's over. I said, well, what happened? No, Epstein's dead. 2019 when that happened. So it's been immersive, and I've been so lucky to meet some of the women, including Haley Robson, who we interviewed this past week. And my wife's down there today. And we have some inside video from inside Congress when they were having a what do they call that? The caucus, the group, and a lot of these survivors were talking to the folks there. So we're going to share some of that. But I want to ask you this, since you represent some of the survivors, and we now know from what I've been gleaning,
one very unique
one survivor.
And
Okay.
let me also just real quickly, if you'll allow me to be clear.
Sure.
Epstein, to me, in the way I described this previously with others, he very much is a part of this. Maxwell is a part of it, but they are tentacles, at least as it relates to this. This has nothing to do with Palm Beach. This has nothing to do with the Virgin Islands. This has nothing to do with Epstein Island. There's nothing to do with the New Mexico ranch. This is something way beyond that. It's international and whatnot, and involves so many other some of the most famous people in the world. And I just want to be clear. I believe, I don't know what these other people have been through, but when they talk about Epstein as just like the main perpetrator, he's a monster, was a monster and a rapist and all that, but he's not the main player in what I'm dealing with.
Okay. Well, with that understanding, let me ask you this way.
Michael, let me just say before I comment, everyone has to know that my husband, Dr. Michael Baden, was at the autopsy of Jeffrey Epstein for Mark Epstein, the brother who we've had on the show a number of times. And his findings were that this is more consistent with a homicide than a suicide. So that's my disclosure. So now when with that disclosure issues, we've got
yes,
now, Michael,
which we've been very open about agreeing with.
That's fine. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I still get annoyed when I hear a news outlet just glom onto the suicide. I don't mind if they say was found dead or some more generic, decision that editorially they make. But to just say suicide as if there's no controversy, no medical information that contradicts that, just drives me crazy. So if you want to say he died on that day, great. If you want to say he was murdered, I'm with you. Anyway, so
I'm just fine dead, but I don't care how.
Yeah, the world is a better place. So to bring everybody up to speed, they had, of course, the House voted almost unanimously. One person voted against. Somebody from Louisiana, I believe, had an issue with how it might identify people that are not really connected. But anyway, then it was shuttled over to the Senate. And what they did there was they said, let's take a vote on whether there will be a unanimous consent. And they agreed to unanimous consent. And what that means is the paperwork's still muddled away in the House of Representatives. Once that paperwork actually walks up the hill to the Senate, they won't even vote. They've already had a unanimous consent. It's going to be done. It could be on the president's desk tonight or tomorrow morning. That's how quickly this all might happen. So with that in mind, and with the relationship you mentioned, Mark, with your client, have you heard anything, any feedback that how this might affect your case, your client?
So I'm not in a position to share communications with government officials about the client and all that. But what I can tell you, based on what I think, without revealing anything, is a lot of the stuff that's going on that's political and which is, capturing the attention of the American public, I have every reason to believe involves Epstein at his Caribbean island, on his airplane, in Palm Beach, that sort of thing, which is not what I'm talking about in terms of what I'm dealing with. So as far as, releasing the files, what I've said to others is I don't know what the files do or don't do. I know what I'm dealing with. I know what the evidence is. I know what authorities know what the evidence is, both domestically and internationally. and what's happening and what the level of that evidence is, how persuasive it is beyond any particular woman saying things, whether there's corroboration in any other form. I don't know what's in these files. I think it's very unfortunate. Like historically, people talked about, the list. There is no list. That I know. There never was a list. And the idea that, we're talking about that this guy would write down, these are my fellow co-conspirators that I abused young women, is silly.
Right.
What are the files? I don't know. I think we can all agree that the way the government has handled this has been clunky as hell. The rollout, from several months ago when they said we're going to reveal the list, and they kind of revealed nothing other than what had already been, and then they said there was no more. And I mean, I'm not going to tell you, and I don't want to speak out of turn because, again, I want the government to do the right thing. But, the way the Attorney General and the FBI have handled this, and the way the administration has handled this politically, is not good. I mean, this is becoming a bigger mess and becoming a political scandal when the emphasis ought to be not so much on a dead pedophile, but what are we doing to arrest, indict, incarcerate, convict, and sentence really, really powerful people who they know committed terrible crimes against young women, with Jeffrey Epstein, with Ghislaine Maxwell, and others. And I feel like the emphasis on Epstein in some ways is political and misguided rather than the monsters and animals who are out there. And they are out there. You all know who they are. When you learn who they are, you're going to be appalled. It's going to change your Hollywood interests. It's going to change your music playlist. It's going to challenge your political, not philosophies, but, these names, I don't want to sound all dramatic, but these names of which I'm familiar with, at least in my situation, they'll blow your freaking mind. I mean, they will call into
doesn't
question.
doesn't that give a reason more for that he didn't commit suicide? I think that's what becomes important with the names.
I don't know. I mean,
people are the power.
It's interesting because, again, to me, in my situation that I'm dealing with, Epstein is an absolute rapist criminal, no question. But he is but a tentacle of a much larger operation. He wasn't, the main guy. That sounds terrible to even say that, because anyone who is a rapist like that is a main guy. But he was a little bit on the periphery because he ran with the jet set, as we all know. And, young women are moving internationally, whether it be New York, Washington, London, Paris, Dublin, wherever. And he hangs out with these people and they meet and they do what rich, powerful, misogynist men do. Where are the young girls? So to me, I mean, Epstein, I don't want to say he's a distraction because this is important what they're saying about him. But there's nothing you can do to him. He's a dead rapist. And there are so many important people that will blow your mind that have to be brought to justice, and I hope they will soon.
So let me synthesize what you said and confirm if I've got this right. You don't believe anything that is in the Epstein files, whatever that means. And I had that conversation with Haley Robson the other day. What is the Epstein files? You don't believe any of that material has a direct impact on what you're doing?
I can't say that it literally does or doesn't, but at the risk of sounding callous and cold, it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is I am fully aware that there is compelling evidence of powerful people who have committed brutal acts of sexual assault. And, again, I want to be careful because I don't want to disrespect anyone who is a victim of Jeffrey Epstein, in which there are many, and I believe that to my core. But based on what I see, I don't know what they're alleging he did specifically. What I know he and others did in other cases, though, it wouldn't even matter that we're talking underage. These are violent, violent acts of assault, sexual and otherwise, that are misogynist, depraved, and would get, if you did this to an adult woman, would result in life sentences. And I don't know respectfully whether the people who are coming after Epstein right now over Palm Beach, the plane, the ranch, I'm not sure if they're alleging that or not. I know what I'm talking about are Epstein and others involved in just depraved acts of sickening violence, sexual and otherwise. I mean, sickening, violent, that ought to result in life sentences. And so I just don't know what they're talking about when we talk about the Epstein files and what's happening. I have great sympathy, but I don't know what they experience, because I'm talking about a very unique situation, which is really troubling. And more importantly, I'm not really focused on Epstein because he's dead. What are you going to do to him? I want the living, breathing monsters to suffer for this.
Wow.
Okay,
What you're
fair
saying
enough.
is that there is somebody bigger. Wow.
A
Wow,
lot.
Wow. A lot of bigger. Wow.
Some of the most famous people in the world.
Well,
Oh boy.
okay, well, you have to keep us posted on that now that we've hung that out there.
It'll come out in due course. I mean, again, it's not my call. It requires the powers that be and whatnot to do what you hope they're going to do. And that's, on some level frustrating, because, the government knows. They know.
Yeah.
So
the
we have
the government.
we have the government. We have some behind the scenes footage from today, because for the victims that were there, this was pretty important. I mean, I think this became like a tractor trailer instead of a roller coaster. It became a tractor trailer mowing everyone down. And Michael, your wife had a lot to do with bringing a lot of the press to it. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, she is very close with a lot of these folks, and she was glad really to be there today to kind of take part. I think it really unfolded quicker than most people considered it happening. Once the administration did a 180, it kind of snowballed from there, and you end up with the Senate really doing their thing by not doing their thing, and so it could be signed this week. That would be very interesting.
Although Mark Epstein, who was on Chris Cuomo's show last night, I believe, said that the files are being scrubbed as far as he.
Well, I hate to be cynical,
but you are.
But I am, and I've fought the government for decades. It's what I do, not just on our little pretend thing here, but in the real world, I'm fighting the government. That's what I'm doing, and I don't trust a damn thing they do. They don't do anything that doesn't somehow protect the machine. So whether it's redaction or omission, I think we're going to be dissatisfied with whatever they suggest are the Epstein files. And I hope it's just not more frustrating than it is fulfilling.
That's exactly why I, again, respectfully shrug my shoulders at, the files. What the hell does that even mean?
Yeah. There's
real evidence of real crimes by living, breathing people. Why are we so focused on emails that Epstein said saying that, Trump and Clinton and whoever else are bad people? That's interesting. I get it. But what does that really mean? I would suggest it doesn't mean a hell of a lot.
Okay.
Yep.
Michael, you want to run your clip? If Mark wants
I would like to find it. I'm not sure I can find it, to be honest with you.
Well, if not, we'll run it tomorrow night, because
why don't we do that? I don't want to bog down Mark for
but Mark, we thank you so much for your time and informing us and keeping us informed, because if it wasn't for lawyers like you also representing the cases, and I'm not going to say they're hard cases, I'm saying it's you have to be a bulldog, because you're up against people that don't want to tell the truth, and you are a bulldog, and you are a fabulous person to represent anyone, and Aidan Kearney is very lucky to have you in his corner.
Glad to talk to you. I love talking to you guys. Thank you.
I agree, and I'll see you on the 5th. Fingers crossed.
Wait to see you. Probably, right? But who knows?
Okay, have a great Thanksgiving, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care.
Wow, I'm almost feel depressed after listening to that about how many.
That's so. I don't know. It scares the hell out of me. I'm not quite sure. What is bigger and badder than a Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, let's go through just some of the things we had. Martha Yvette Stoddart, new member. Thank you very much. My glasses are giving me trouble tonight. Justisa G6, new member. Thank you very much. I do promise I will eventually get to the hunt. I promise. We've just been a little bit busy. The Goodmans. Hi, the Goodmans. Big fans of Will the Glower. We know the Goodmans. There was Mark Bederow's information. Maz Media, happy birthday to Kelty Fitzsimmons. Yeah, she shares the same birthday as I have an anniversary. I'll never forget her birthday again. I know there's a fundraiser going on. I think I retweeted Mark about that. Mark had tweeted it. I retweeted it.
And don't forget they have the Commonwealth deadline is, assuming they follow the deadline for the SJC, that's Thursday.
Yeah.
To have their response to the Fitzsimmons petition.
That'll be Thursday, and we'll be talking about that Thursday. Calibron Dogs, new member. Martha Ivy, new member. Thank you very much. I'm trying to show these as we go along. Could you read that one, Michael?
Sure. Mr. Bederow, we love you. And Ms. KB, just in case you didn't know, Mr. Bryant is also a long-time amazing trial attorney. Thank you so much. I don't have the board, the headline cases, just grinding it out in the trenches.
But he's got the Emmy. Okay, don't let him fool you.
My clients deserve everything I can give them.
Yeah, and he gives them and he wins all the time. So I know that. All right, Donnie Not Wahlberg gifted one Justice Serve TV membership. Thank you for those who very generous, and those who get it just love it. And thank you very much. Jen, new member. Thank you, Jen, new member. Sue E. Generous. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Sue.
Michael, I have to let you read this too.
Okay, I have to give one because I love you, and two because Bederow. Yup, thanks to Linda for TB and Michael on scene. I love you all so much. Because justice. Well, thank you, Sue E. Generous. Always a pleasure.
Always so generous to
a
us.
Video.
Also,
so when we're done, I'll run it.
All right, JPJH8844. Go ahead. I'm going to let you do the
Bucks
reading.
County, PA. Beautiful, by the way. The county detectives are detectives from the municipal police departments, not from the state police. So they do things differently in Bucks County, is what you're suggesting. Is that a good or bad thing? That they're from the muni police? I don't know.
Give us some more information. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah. Sue is back
again.
Thank you, Sue.
Right, Sue Generous again. Thank you very much. You appreciate us so much. We appreciate you. Olivia Niles.
Olivia.
Yeah, Olivia Niles. I mean, I know there's all this stuff going around about what the real Olivia. We don't get involved. We just do the real stuff. Yeah. Okay, I can't see. So
makes you wonder what does you have your glasses fogged up there or what?
Somehow I didn't clean them right. Right. Yeah.
You have lipstick on your glasses now?
Listen to my teeth.
Makes you wonder what discovery the DA never turns over. Yeah, you're right. I mean,
absolutely.
As I told Mark, we're all amazed when something proper happens, not when something bad happens. That's what we assume. What are they hiding? What are they not telling us? What are they changing? He mentioned the grand jury. We didn't really get into the detail of what really happened, and that was the manipulation of the evidence the grand jury relied upon to issue the indictments. And that was the Turtle Boy posts that were just flat ass changed to incite the court to indict. And that's one of the grounds they're using for their motion to dismiss. It's just unbelievable.
Change the titles. That was allegedly. All right, Suey Generous again. Suey, wow, my gosh, thank you so much.
You're superheroes fighting the fight. God bless Linda and Michael. Thank you. God bless you, Sue.
And Suey's back again. Suey, again, another donation.
Some lawyers are angels. Linda.
Oh my gosh, some lawyers are angels. And Suey, thank you very much bringing yourself in the limelight. We love you. Obviously, you're very supportive of the show. Okay, you want to grab this one too?
JPJH 8844. The King of England stripped his brother of all his titles. Yeah, please don't think the U.S. is the only country with Epstein files. There is a lot more here. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And as Mark suggests, maybe in a way we've never heard before, Epstein is a symptom.
Oh, very interesting. I'm sure there's a lot more that we may find out, and maybe never, or maybe 20 years from now. You know how these things happen. Okay, next. All right, 108, and then I think it's
Satsang.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead if you want to read it, Michael.
Is Mark's client going after a specific person? We're still talking about Epstein, I believe. I don't know. Yeah.
I think we're talking still about
we won't know, and he didn't share that. So
yeah. All right, so those were the chats and everything that we didn't read.
Let me show the video since I found it.
Okay.
Damn it, I'm showing it. Okay.
Okay.
So, you know, we really have to
What is it?
understand that this is just the
Are you hearing that, by the way?
Yes, I am, but
Good.
tell us what it
Okay,
is. Tell
I'll
us
back
what
it
it
up here
is.
too. This is the caucus, and I don't know which name of which caucus, but it's in the Capitol. All the or many of the survivors and a lot of politicians in this room. This happened just after the representatives' vote, and then they had a candlelight vigil at 5, and it was soon after that where the Senate voted to basically have a consensus vote when the paperwork moves up the hill from the representatives to the Senate. They can't technically vote on it, but if they have an agreement to have a consensus vote, meaning nobody's going to oppose it, they don't ever actually vote. The paperwork comes up and they rubber stamp it, and then they'll send that to the press. So here in the foreground, you see in the pinkish color there, would you call that pink? Fashion
Right.
queen, what would you call
Right.
that?
I call
Chartreuse?
that
Okay.
fuchsia. Fuchsia.
Fuchsia. Oh, I like that. That's Haley, who we talked to last week. She's been front and center on this. This is her quick comment from inside this caucus.
So, you know, we really have to understand that this is just the beginning. There is a lot of work for all of us to do moving forward, with or without these files.
I would like just to add something to that. Thank you.
So this is, we could just be running a clip from outside on the courthouse steps, from the Capitol steps, but no, Justice Through TV, we like to go inside and give you the exclusive footage that you're not going to see anywhere else. So that's the deal there. They're obviously very excited as to what's happening. This could be signed by the end of the week, and then the real test. What the hell is going to be in the files? What's going to be redacted? What's going to be omitted for whatever lame reason the government comes up with? I just can't wait.
Yeah.
One thing I know, I heard you.
I am going to show this one.
You got more? What do you got?
Scott's in the chat.
Hey, Scott.
My husband is a personal hero of his because of his participation in Sandra Birchmore, pivotal. Yes, he was, and I will say that, calling this a homicide. It doesn't say who does it. It's medical examiners, forensic pathologists don't, but saying in his opinion this was not a suicide, and that was confirmed by the FBI pathologist that was hired by the feds, I guess, prior to the indictment.
Not the medical examiner, though.
But not the medical examiner or the Norfolk County DA. Unbelievable,
Yikes.
right?
Hey, I know you plugged the hunt, so I get to plug this tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Right.
You might go to prison even though you're innocent. We're going to be looking at chapter number, I think it's number 4. You kind of look like other people in the world. That could be a problem. And so we're going to get into that tomorrow. So bring your books and your lunch money or something. 2 o'clock tomorrow.
And then we will tomorrow night. We're going to be showing a show at 6 o'clock. We're going to be talking about the Karen Reed,
the civil matter. Yeah, there's so much going on today. We obviously wanted Mark for the purposes that we did, and so we didn't have time for the civil case. But we will definitely dig into that tomorrow. It is very well written. It's just for those who like pleading, it's a joy to read. So
yeah, and then we'll be talking later in the week about what happened today in the Brian Walsh case.
Yep.
As you know, there was a plea to 2 of the charges, charge 2 and 3, leaving only the murder to be tried. I think it was a good move by the defense, but
I do too.
Get them what everyone says it's going to get them, and we'll discuss that later on in the
week.
And
there may be more shenanigans underway that would resolve the case in its entirety. Jury selection is continuing. They expect to have a panel by the end of the week, and then they'll cool their heels until December 1st openings, if it's still a case at that point. So without spending too much time on it, because we are going to get into it in another episode, I'm thinking that, first of all, it's kind of a curveball, which is never a bad thing. As I used to say, a surprise a day. When I'm in trial, a surprise a day. Well, the prosecution has to pivot now, because with only a murder case remaining, there's so many things that they're going to be prevented from getting into, and maybe it affects everything all the way back to their closing, their opening statement, which they're going to, at least they've got a week to figure it out. But even with jury selection, the things that they talk about are now going to be slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to your point, I think it's, if they could get their client to go along, and they obviously did, it's a good thing for the defense in this case. So,
and we'll have to see, though, if it gets them what they think ultimately will happen. Although you and I said early on that when you have a no-body case, what's the defense? It was an accident.
Yep.
I got
nervous. It's the Scandorito.
It's Scandarito. Look him up, Jimmy Scandarito.
Jimmy Scandarito.
A silver platter filled with cocaine or something like that. An hors d'oeuvre platter.
An hors d'oeuvre, yeah. He and his dad are in their house, just hanging like father and son, snorting coke. Just a usual father-son event. He has a heart attack, goes down. Then brilliant James Scandarito decides, I'll just chop my dad up.
Yeah.
And so he takes the stand, which I don't think Walsh will ever do, but he takes the stand and goes through, it was, cutting up a body, I know it sounds kind of disrespectful. It's hard work. And he talked about having to rest a number of times, while he's in the process under that tarp in his garage. But what did the jury say? Well, guilty of dismemberment, not guilty of murder.
Not guilty of murder.
And in this case, we know with Walsh, the prize for the defense is some ability at some point to get out on parole, because they don't have the death penalty there in Massachusetts. So the worst he can get is life without parole. So what's the goal? Some level of parole at some point.
Yeah, that's obviously. Anyhow, and then Friday you're going to be back in Massachusetts for the Karen Reed civil case, and we'll be streaming that starting about 1:30, and then we'll have a wrap-up show at 6. Michael may be streaming alone Friday because I had a little calendar confusion, but we do have a wrap-up show at 6, and then we will have the book club tomorrow. Michael has the book club tomorrow again, but next week we're going to take the week off. And
we're
Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Give our thanks. Give our thanks.
Thanks, because all of you have to be ready with your families. Also, I know people want to shop. They want to look at Black Friday. They want to have Thanksgiving dinner. And quite frankly, talking about cut up dead bodies and dismemberment just
doesn't sit well with your Thanksgiving cranberry sauce.
No.
So again, for Friday, I'll come on probably 1:30-ish just to set up what we're about to see. Missy's like, I will be. Missy will be streaming the hearing, and who knows what the hell's going to happen, because I have a feeling, consolidating the new civil case is going to come up in the context of the existing civil case. And they're in 2 different counties? How is that going to work?
There's a footnote about it. And there's also a footnote about adding more defendants, which we'll get into more.
Okay. Well, one of my first questions will be, Mr. Jackson or Mr. Seligman. Is it Seligman? Did I get that right? Damon Seligman.
Yeah.
How are you going to
Seligson?
How are you going to smash these together? How's that going to happen? I can't wait to hear how they got that worked out. Anyway, so and then I'll do some post interviews, which we'll post, and then we'll circle back and have our normal thing at 6 o'clock to kind of relive what happened that day.
Yeah. And with everything else happening today that was out there, Ms. Richards again denied the bail for the 3rd time. All sorts of things going on, but you can look all that up. We had Mark Bederow. We're excited to have him, and we thank him for his great recitation.
Yeah, it's always a great conversation. We're just chatting, about this stuff that's going on. He just happens to be, on the front line, so it's great. Thanks.
I'm going to wish happy Thanksgiving to all of you, even those that have bad things to say, who come to our chat to have bad things to say. You have First Amendment right to say them, maybe, although we can actually, you're not the government, we can undo it. But I'm really big right now on letting you say, and then we'll respond someday in a comment show back to you.
So, yeah, there's definitely been some interesting comments that I'm trying to remember to set aside.
Just remember that.
Some of them are just plain fun.
Yeah,
all right then, partner.
Thanks,
good
Michael
job.
Bryant.
Happy anniversary. Enjoy
you.
that. And let's do something again tomorrow. Join us tomorrow for a number of items. Don't forget 2 o'clock live, the book club, and then we'll have our 6 o'clock for you. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. In the meantime, this is Justice Served TV. Please try to do the right thing.
Oh.
Riding flames, they charge with mine.